Your child's potential is limitless.
Being able to socialize, have relationships, and sustain ongoing relationships is fundamental and essential.
Your child might be asking you to make a bit more of a commitment, to really show them and give them that message that you are there to be close to them and that you have something in common with them. We actually see the ism, the repetitious behavior, as a doorway to expressing our warmth, our care, and our love.
Whatever you do, celebrate in a way that feels good to you and is from the heart and sincere. The more you celebrate your children, the more they will look at you.
We had a little boy who was developing in the way our two daughters were developing. And suddenly, at about 12 to 14 months old, he started to sort of slip away. He would look at us, smile at us. Before that, he would hug us. He would put his arms up when you went to reach him. And suddenly you'd go to reach him and he didn't put his arms up anymore. And suddenly you would go to look at him and he would look away. Instead of playing with toys and blocks that he used to play with, he would suddenly just start to do these repetitive movements. The repetitive movements would be rocking back and forth. It would be flipping his fingers in front of his eyes. He used to have this thing where he'd love to spin anything that he could get a hold of, so he'd spin plates. He could actually, sincerely, he could take a tissue box and spin it on the corner. He would go to the bathroom and constantly flush the toilet and watch the water go down. And he would go like this, back and forth, and make very strange sounds. It was really clear to us we had a very unusually developing little boy. He was diagnosed as having autism and severely autistic. And we watched the dropped faces. We read all the literature, and the level of pessimism, despair, and hopelessness.
So by the time Ron was born and then ultimately diagnosed with autism, we were two very different people. And it was only because of that, and only because of the changes that we made in ourselves personally, that honestly we could even embrace or welcome this child into our lives the way we did, with seeing him, seeing his behavior, seeing the challenge as an opportunity for us.
Samari and I were really aware. He looked like he was from the planet Mars. That was really clear. And yet, there was something serene about him. There was something beautiful about him. There was actually something, in some way, meditative about him. We thought, wow, if I want to reach my child, that would never be the way to go. That would be the way to push our child away. So we actually originated a completely different program. And the program we originated
The last thing being, it was so clear to us that this child could not find his way to our world. As a result, the only way we could in some way communicate or try to connect with him would be to go to his world. Now, you may think that's really bizarre, but think about this. We see a baby in a crib, and the baby doesn't even have to be doing anything, just laying there like a lump in the carriage or in the crib. What do? We go, you know, we do all of these crazy, silly, fun faces, things that we do with this child. Why? Because we're doing what we think the child's going to relate to, what the child might smile at. We're enjoying ourselves. We're not thinking, wait a minute, it's inappropriate to do that. No, we're finding our way, and actually we know how to connect with that child. We know what to do. So this is not foreign to us. It's more, we have to just expand our understanding and not close in and have a different viewpoint because this child is different than we've ever seen before.
So let me tell you what it looked like. And so Mario was the first person who ever did that. Rocking with him as he rocked, flipping your hands when you flipped your hands, making those strange sounds, and people around us were saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're reinforcing this aberrant behavior." And we said, no, we're loving our child. We're trying to create a relationship with our child. We're trying to bond with our child. Actually, we're trying to understand our child. So what began with what seemed like a very, very unusual path to help our son ultimately developed into a very specific program, which we now call the Sunrise Program.
Our attitude of acceptance had to be far more inviting and alluring and appealing to him than disapproval. I mean, we know that ourselves. When we're around somebody who loves us just the way we are, who thinks we're okay the way we are different with that person. We open up to them more. We feel more connected to that person, as versus a person who's judging us and somehow, you know, has a feeling about us that they're not accepting something about us. We are different with that person. It's the same with these children. They pick up on that. People will ask us, Bears and I, you know, how did you come up with the specifics of what you chose to do in your program with your son? And in order to answer that question, actually, we have to go back to before Ron was even born. At that time in our lives, Bears and I were learning a very special process of self-exploration. And it involved discovering and changing the beliefs that we had that actually were the kind of underbelly for us, for our fears, for our self-judgments, for our discomforts, and changing those into ones that would support our feeling good about ourselves and good about everything in our life.
Not only were we able to bring Ron completely out of autism, he went from that little boy also testing functional IQ of under 30, so severely autistic, functional IQ under 30. We worked with him, those were the beginning steps, for over 3 years. He then emerged not only as an extroverted, loving, very affectionate little boy, he ultimately became this incredibly politically active, social, involved in debating teams, graduated high honors from high school, then graduated in biomedical ethics degree from an Ivy League university. He went on to run a learning center out on the West Coast, came back to work with us, and now the organization we founded that actually teaches the Sunrise Program, the very thing that brought him from that world in which he looked very lost for quite a period of time. That very program is taught at a center that my wife and I founded called the Autism Treatment Center of America. We have this amazing professional staff that works with people from all different countries. I think in the last 5 years we've had people here from 78 different countries, thousands of moms, thousands of dads. And the most amazing thing is the CEO or the Chief Executive Officer of the Autism Treatment Center of America, where the Sunrise Program is now taught, is run by the very first Sunrise child to emerge from autism using this process.